Hi everybody. In this lesson we're going to cover loops in Java. There's a couple of ways to do looping. There's for loops and there's while loops and then there's iterators. And there's probably a couple others, but those are the main ones. So for loop is probably the most popular one, and you've already seen this in some of the other lessons. What I want you to do again is play with these, type them out into your Hello World program. And we're going to do that right now with this one. I'm pasting. You should type because it helps you build muscle memory. All right, so in this case, this one's going to print out from 0 to 5. It's actually going to be 4, right, because it says less than 5, so that would be 4. And it's going to increment by 1, and you've seen all these parts now. So we're declaring a variable I. It's an integer. We're going to start at 0. We're going to go till as long as I is less than 5, and then we're going to increment by 1. And so that should print out 0 through 4. Let's go ahead and run that. And there it is, 0 through 4. So 5 numbers, 0 through 4. Now if we wanted this 1 base, we just change that to a 1. And if you want to do 5, you can do like that, or you can do like that. So then if we run that, we'll get 1 through 5. And there it is. Okay, so in the next part, you can actually increment by 2s by doing this. You've seen this, the addition assignment operator, right? And so we're going to say it's less than or equal to 8. So let's go ahead and just modify. So we want to count by 2s. We're going to start at 2. We're going to go to 8, and we're going to increment by 2. So this is a way to count by 2s. So we're going to start at 2. We want to be less than or equal to 8 because we want 2, 4, 6, 8. And then here we're going to do the assignment operator on this with 2s. All right, so now if we run that, 2, 4, 6, 8. All right, so that's how that works. We can also go backwards. So we'll start at 5. As long as we're greater than 0, we're going to go ahead and decrement that number. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's count down. We're going to start at 5. And as long as we are greater than 0, let's go ahead and include 0. We're going to go backwards. So we decrement I. Now you could put this I on the other place because we're not accessing this variable as it's being operated on, so it doesn't matter. So typically we put it at the end because that's when it's being applied. That's when it makes sense to us. Okay, and we've got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 because we did this with the 0. If you do this, you're not going to get the 0. You're going to just get 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so that's decrementing loops. All right, so now we've got an array list, and this is kind of an built-in thing with list. So it'll, or actually any collection, it'll go through a collection of names with this colon here. So let's go ahead and put this out. You type it, okay? And let's see, I'm going to do this. All right, so now it'll print the names as in this order. And so there's the names right there, and it printed it out. So the way that this works is what's the type of thing in here? It's a string. And then what's the collection? So this just iterates through the collection. And that works for almost any type of collection. Now you could also increment it using a for loop. Let's just go ahead and get this part, and I'm just going to replace the loop. So we can iterate through the numbered indexes. So we're going to do 0, and then names has a size, right? So we want to do less than the size, and then we're going to increment by 1, and then we can just get it. It's a list, so we can go ahead and get whatever index this is. And if we go ahead and run that, we get the names. And in this case, we printed out the indexes. Okay, another type of loop is a while loop. What are while loops good for? It's when you're not kind of counting or knowing what your range is. You're just kind of looping through, and then you have to figure out when it's going to stop. You might know when you want to stop, but you don't know what's in between, or there's some operation that's going to determine what's in between. There's various ways to do while loops. You could just say while true, which will loop forever, and then when you want various conditions to happen, you can use break statements to break out of it. So you could have different types of break statements in there, different conditions that cause it to break. Otherwise, it'll just keep going. All right, so in this case, we're going to go ahead and count by 8 again. Or count by 2s up to 8. So let's go ahead and run that. 2468, just like we saw before. Now we could do it like this too. Let's do this. So as I was telling you, you can do a while true, and that'll run forever. So you have to be careful with that one, really careful. And then we can say if I is greater than 8, we can break, and that'll break out of the loop. Now you have to be really careful with this while true. Okay, you don't want to do that very often. You have to make sure that something is going to break this, otherwise it'll just loop forever, and that'll spin your CPU out of control. It'll lock up the computer. It can do all kinds of things. So you really, really have to be careful with this. Probably shouldn't even be showing it to you right now. So there it is breaking. So you have to make sure that it definitely breaks. So, I mean, you got to put some kind of stop in there. Maybe something ridiculous, like while I is less than 1,000,000 or while I is less than 1,000. Something ridiculous. So that way it breaks out some kind of fail-safe to get out of there. Remember, just be really careful with while true, okay? Okay, iterators, that's the thing that's built into lists. And sometimes those are handy because you could pass them around into other functions and have things operate on them. Okay, so we've got our list of names again. We're going to get the iterator, and then this is an object that's iterating. So we ask, does it have next? And it'll keep whiling. So this is a while loop while it has next. So it's checking this condition. So this is a good while loop because it'll eventually run out of these. That while true one's dangerous, so really be careful with that one. There's our list. So that's how an iterator works. Okay, now let's go back and see what else we have. That's iterators. We got the output. That's good. And okay, here's where our exercise. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to use the loops that we learned. And looking through the program, we're going to use a for loop, another for loop, and a while loop, and a bunch of if conditions. So this is really taking us through almost everything we've learned so far. We've got arrays of strings. We've got dates. So we've got quite a few things in this exercise. Now, it looks longer than it really is because of all the comments. And when we type this out, we're going to leave out the comments. So let's go ahead and get started. So we'll use our same hello world program again. And then the first thing we're going to do is get today. So that's local date. .now. So let's go ahead and let's set that up. So let's remove the code we had before. Let's remove the imports. Okay, so what's the first thing? And I'm going to go ahead and type this time. So local date, it's with the uppercase L. And if I hit enter on that, it should have done the import, and it did. Okay, so then let's just call it now equals local date dot now. All right, so that's the now function that we saw before, and that's setting it to now. And the next thing we want to do is go ahead and print it out as today is and whatever today says. Okay, so let's do that. System.out.println, and that's going to be today is. Yes, right here. Today is in quotes. Today is, and we'll put a colon and a space, and we'll do now. All right, so that'll print out what today is. So let's go ahead and run that. All right, there's today. Today is 7/20. Okay, and then the next thing is let's get the current month. So today.get month is what we want here. So let's do this. So here's a trick. Now, on the left side, we've got this variable being set up, and then we're setting it equal to the right side, which is today.get month. I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to type the right side and then assign it to a variable and let the IDE finish this part and see if that's any better. All right, so today, let's see. We need to name this today, not now. I named it the wrong thing. I don't want to translate it right now since the lesson says today. Let's go ahead and name it today. And anytime you make a change, you might want to just run it just to make sure so you don't keep going and then all of a sudden there's some error way up above that you don't remember. So today is this date. Okay, that works. All right, so we're going to do today.getMonth. All right, so now I want to assign it to a variable. So if I hit command dot or control dot, it's going to say, give me an option. So let's assign it to a new local variable. And do we call it month of here? We call it current month. So let's go ahead and change the name here to current month. All right, and then the next thing we're going to do is get today with the first day of month. So today with first day with day of month 1. So that's going to give us the first day of the month. So let's do this, and let's give it some space here. So today dot with day of month 1. Now let's assign that. So commands dot or control dot, and that's going to give me day of month. And what do we call it here? We called it just day, because we're going to set this one. This is now the current day, because we're building a calendar, right? So we want the first day of the month. We're going to print it where it goes: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, wherever it falls. And then we're going to fill out the rest of the calendar with it. All right, so that's the day. And then we've got days of the week. And this could be anything here. I just chose 2 letters just because it's kind of formatting. You could do whatever you want. Just remember, it's going to be something with your formatting and your spacing. So let's see. It's a string array called days of week. So let's do that. Let's give some space. String array, so square brackets for an array, right? And days of week is what we called it. And it equals this array, so starting with Sunday through Saturday with 2 letters. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, oops, uppercase W on that one, Thursday, and I don't know if I used TH on there, I probably did, Friday, and Saturday. Okay, that gives us the days of the week. And okay, so now we want to go ahead and print out the top of our calendar. So we're going to do a for loop here. So we want the length of days of the week. So how many? That's 7 days. And we're going to increment it like we saw with the plus plus. And we're going to do an I variable. And then while I is greater than 0 and I is less than days of the week dot length. So what this is doing is printing out a space to move everything across. Oh wait, if I is greater to move the numbers across. So as long as we've got days of week, it's going to put a space in between each one with this. So as long as it's greater than 0, so it's got to be greater than 0. So the first one, it's not going to put the space first. So what this is doing, now remember the order of the execution here. So if this is true, it's going to print a blank space. Then it's going to print the day of the week with one of these things. Then it's going to print a blank line. So in this loop, it's going to do a blank space, but we don't want one here at the beginning of Sunday. We don't need it there. So we want it to be greater than 0. And then we're going to go into the length. So let's go ahead and try this out. So we got to do a for loop. Let's just do it right underneath because it goes with it. And it's an integer, I equals 0. So we're going to start at 0. I less than days of week dot length, and then I plus plus, we want to increment. All right, then the next thing we're going to do is if it is not Sunday, we're going to print a blank space. So so this is the conditions that we learned, right? So if I is greater than 0 and I is less than days of the week dot length, right here. So we don't want it to be the last thing because we don't want a space there, and we don't want it to be the first one. We don't want a space there. Then we'll go ahead and print out that blank space. And now strings can be double quotes and as many characters as you want. A character literal is just one character, so this is the actual space. Remember when we saw that with the characters in an earlier lesson. This is the actual space character, which is equal to int32. So it's an actual space character. All right, so that's going to print out blank lines. Now we probably won't see that in our window down here, so let's get the other one going. So we want to print out the day of the week. So then we're going to do days of week sub I. And I think that's what that said. I'm just going from memory here, or what I think it should be, and that is correct. Okay, so we can print this out and see what it actually ends up happening. So if we run, okay, it printed them out, but it did a print line. I want them to go across. So the example does print and does print. Print line is at the end to get the new line going. So you saw what happened when you do print line, it's going down. We don't want it to go down, we want it to go across. So we want to do just regular print. So print line will print whatever it is inside the parentheses, the parameter passed in, and then it'll do a new line and go to the next line. We don't want that. We want it to stay on the same line. Okay, so let's go ahead and run that. Okay, now it goes across, and that's what we wanted. Okay, and then at the end of that, we're going to make it do a new line. And with no argument, we just want a new line. We don't need anything printed out after it. So let's run that. Okay, there it is all the way across. So that's the top of our calendar. So we've got the today, and then we've got the days of the week, and now we need to fill in the numbers. So we want to get the right day of the week. So the first day of the week could start on Sunday, which is the beginning, and that's easy. But it could also start on Tuesday or Wednesday or Friday or anything, any of those days, right? We don't know what it's going to be. And we're going to format our days so that there's two numbers, right? So 1 through 31, maybe. But all the numbers that are less than 10, we want to have a space in front so everything lines up right. So like in our example down here, see this 8, we want it to line up right, so we need to put spaces in between. So what we're going to say is everything is 3 characters long, and 2 of them are the actual numbers of the day, even though 1 could be empty. All right, so that's here. So we've got 1, 2, 3 spaces in here, right? So it's 2 possible characters plus a space, so we're going to do 3. All right, so then we want this here, and we're going to do day, so that's the day that we're assigning. Get day of week, get value, so it's going to give us the number. So let's do that. So day dot get day of week dot get value, and then I'm going to do the assignment, and I think we want to assign, we're going to give it a good name called day of week. The value is just really generic. Oh, we don't want days a week, we want day of week. Okay, so that's a number. So we want to print spaces until we get to that number. So we're going to start on the first one, which is Sunday. So let's start an I. We're going to do I less than days of the week dot length. And then we're going to increment. And why is this complaining? Int I. Got to put the variable there. So it was complaining because I didn't do it right. All right, now this is complaining because days a week is not used. Okay, so inside of that loop, try and see if you could do this from memory if you can. Otherwise, refer back. But try and think about what it is we're trying to accomplish here. We're trying to get spaces in for every one that this isn't. So let's assume that, I don't know what it's going to be, but this month starts on Tuesday. So we're going to print out 3 spaces for Saturday and 3 spaces for Monday, and then we'll get the real number on Tuesday. So we're going to want to print here, System.out.print. Now remember, we want to go across from left to right, not top to bottom. So we're just going to use the regular print. And we're going to do 3 spaces because that's how we're going to format our calendar because of the numbers. Does that make sense? Okay. Otherwise, we could not do this and we just see them all jumbled together, and then we'll have to format it later. But trust me on this one, it's 3. You could actually just see the top right here. There's 3. There's 3. We want everything to line up. All right, so we're going to print 3, 3, and then we should be lined up on Tuesday. Okay? So we won't see anything because they're just spaces, so we have to actually print something else. So that's just getting us spaces, so we won't see anything till we actually do something in here. And let's run it, though, to make sure it works. Okay, and we've got spaces, don't know where we end up. Okay, and let's do the next part of it. Okay, now we're going to do the while loop. So while the current month equals day of get month. So while current month equals day.get month. So what we're trying to do here is we want to loop through each day of this month. And as soon as the day is no longer in this month, we want to stop looping. So say we're in July, because we are right now at the time of this recording. And by the time we get to July 31st, the next day is going to be June 1st. And as soon as June 1st is there, we're going to say, hey, day, what month are you in? And it's going to say, or not June, it'll be August. It'll say, I'm in August. Okay, that's not our current month. We're going to stop because we're in July. And that's the one that we want. Okay, so we're going to do while current month equals. So try to think of what we're trying to accomplish and see if you can do it yourself. Otherwise, refer back. So if current month, which we have up on top, equals day.getMonth, then we're going to do something. Otherwise, we don't want to do it and we want it to stop. All right, so then the next thing we're going to do is get the day of the month, which is the number. So we're going to do day.get day of month. And that's going to give us the day number. Now I'm going to assign it to a variable using this. And what do we call it? Day of month. So we took their suggestion, which is good. You always want to try and be descriptive of your variables, otherwise you won't remember what they are. Okay, so now if the number is less than 10, we're going to want to print a space in front of it, right? Because let's go to our example down here. Okay, it's going to start on Thursday. So we need 3 spaces, and this is the loop that we're doing up in front, right? 3 spaces, and then 3 spaces, and then 3 more spaces. So we're going to do that 4 times. Now we're underneath the T. We don't want our 1 there. We want our 1 here, so we're going to put a space in front of it. Okay, so we're going to print a space, and we don't want to print line, even though it's telling us, it keeps suggesting printing a new line. That's not what we want. Now, we want that if day of the month is less than 10, so only has 1 character or 1 thing that would be printed out. Okay, and is that what our example says? Yes, so I'm thinking right so far. All right, so now we've got spaces in front of it, which is what we want. Now we want to go ahead and print out that day of month. So let's go ahead and print it. And we don't want to print line. It keeps suggesting that. So day of month. All right, now we'll see something. So let's go ahead and run it without finishing, just to see where we are. It's running forever. How do you stop it? Okay, that was dangerous. Why is it running forever? Because we didn't increment the day. Okay. So, good question. How do you stop it? There's some controls. Let's do that stop button. Where's the controls? Wow, so how do we get back to it? Debug console. No. So here's a case of a while loop gone crazy, right? And is it still running? Did it stop? Yeah, it's still going. So let's Control C this. All right, that's how you stop it. Control C. Get down that window. So my computer actually got hot. I could feel it getting warm because it was just running like crazy. So this is a while loop gone mad. Okay, so it just kept going. So let's go ahead and put the incrementer in. So what is it? So we're going to do day equals day plus 1 day. So let's definitely do that right now. Now I'm glad that happened because now you get to see what a crazy runaway loop went. We're going to do plus days and we're going to add 1. So now we're going to take today, we're going to add plus 1 day, and then that's going to set us equal to day. So then we'll stop on this month. So now let's print it out. And if we get a runaway, we know what to do now. We hit Control C in the terminal window. Okay, and look what it did. It went all the way out to here and then printed all the letters, all the numbers of the days, which is great, but that's not where we wanted it. So we've got our spaces there, and we've got our while here. Oh, and it's just printing spaces and the day of the week, which we have. So how did we get all the way out here? It looks like we have a print line somewhere. So that's one's proper. That looks right too. Oh, we never went back to the beginning? I don't know. Let's see if we can figure it out. Oh, we're not looping back. So we need to get back to the beginning line. So we ended up here on Saturday. We ended up printing a space, it looks like. And then we started printing our things, but we never went back to the beginning because we're just looping and adding days, but not ever going back to the beginning, getting a new line basically. So that's the point of this. So if the day is not Saturday, so Saturday is the last day of the week. So if not day, remember we flipped this, equals Saturday. So as long as it's not Saturday, go ahead and just print the space. So we want to do the space is coming after. So this one here is printing the space before the number to get our numbers to line up. This one here will print a space, and we're going to do if day. So, and you can refer back. I might not even remember this. Day dot day of week dot equals day of week dot Saturday. So we're saying if it's not equal to Saturday, we want to print the space. And we don't want to print line. We want to print just a space. Because we want to do, so we're going to do a space if it's less than 10, the number, and then we need a space so that way there's a space in between the day we're working on now and then the next day. So if that happens, we've got that going. All right, so let's run that. We don't know if our calendar is working yet, and this is an incremental process. It's not going to be perfect the first time. You have to work through it. All right, so now we've got spaces between our days, at least some of them. So 10 is not doing something, but that could be because we're supposed to be on a next line or something. I don't know why. And you can see this one has 2 spaces in between. So it's still kind of funky, but we're working through it. Okay, so then we've got those spaces. We got the space. So we've got a space happening after. We need that new line. We need to start over at the beginning somewhere. So what do we have here? So this one's adding their space, and now we're doing if the day, not the day, but if the day actually is Saturday that we just printed, we want to go ahead and do the new line. So that way we end up on the next line, which puts us at the beginning. So let's see how that works out. So if day, let's go ahead and do that. If day dot get day of week dot equals day of week dot Saturday. Then we want to print a new line, because after Saturday prints, we want to go back to the beginning of the line. And nothing in it. All right, now let's run that and see what we get. Oh, close. It did everything okay except for this. That needed to be over there. So what are all these spaces here? What all those spaces are must be this thing. So this thing's doing I equals 0, days of the week dot length. It's going all the way to there. I don't think that's right. I think what it needs to do is go to whatever day number this is. So let's check and see, did I just read it wrong? Okay, we've got to the day of the week is where we need to go. I went ahead and went all the way to the end of the week. And I mean, that happens in programming, even for someone who's been doing it as long as me. And that's why I just iterate through it. I run it. Oh, that's not what I want. I run it. Oh, it's closer, but not quite. Oh, I run it. Okay, that's better. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to set this to days of the week. So that's what I did wrong here. So I did days of week dot length, which is a loop of all of them. I don't want to do all of them. I want this day of week. This one right here, because that's when I want to stop. I don't want to go all the way to the end. I want to stop when it is this day. So now what happens when we run it? That's better. And that actually is probably right. Let's confirm that by going to some calendar. So we want July 20th, and let's see what that calendar looks like. So I just copied that. Let's go to a browser and type in a calendar and just paste in this date. Sure, let's try the first one. Starts on a Thursday and ends on a Saturday, and there's 31 days. All right, let's see if that's what we got. Starts on a Thursday, ends on a Saturday, and there's 31 days. Okay, that's it. So we used loops and conditions and incrementers to get a calendar to print out. And that was a pretty challenging exercise. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching.